Thanks for tuning in to the WingSpace podcast. This podcast is not a replacement for mental health treatment or professional health care. In case of crisis or emergency, please contact your local healthcare provider or dial 911.
Hey there, and welcome to the WingSpace podcast, a place to take up space. Today, I want to talk to you about closing out 2023 and beginning to prepare for 2024.
Hey listeners, quick intermission with one of our providers at Hope and Healing, Kristen Wilson, LCSWC, who has started offering a new program at Hope and Healing for our couples called Prepare and Enrich. So Kristen, could you give us a little more information about that program?
Prepare and Enrich is a service that we'll be offering to premarital couples. It is a strength-based program that utilizes assessment portion and then subsequent sessions to look at that assessment and discuss what are your strengths, what are the areas of growth, what are conversations that you'd like to have as you are leading up to and preparing for marriage. One of the nice things about Prepare and Enrich is that it covers not only a wide variety of areas, but it can be utilized with couples that are in different stages of life as well. So maybe this is your first marriage. Maybe it is a blending of families that come into play when you are preparing for this. So the idea is that we can support you in that process and support you in having conversations with your partner and planning ahead for success.
And if someone is listening and is interested in seeking out this service for themselves and their partner, how could they go about inquiring or scheduling an appointment?
Contact us at Hope and Healing. You can go to the website and send us your information and we'll get back with you, or you can give us a call and we'll get you scheduled. There's more than one option when it comes to utilizing this program. This is a set group of sessions. So you will either be choosing to engage in 4 sessions or 8 sessions, depending on what your needs are, what your interests are, and what works for you. The assessment is part of both of those. The skill building, the recognizing our growth areas and working on those are included in both of those sets. So you will get that experience, but just the timing of it might look different depending on your needs.
Yes, so you can give us a call at 301-690-8404, extension 0. If you get the voicemail, make sure that you leave us one so that we can give you a call back within 24 hours. You can also visit our website, like Kristen mentioned, at hopehealingtherapy.com.
So you're going to be listening to this podcast in the month of December of 2023, and I'm actually recording this on November 30th, so I'm kind of in the mindset of closing out one month and starting another month, knowing that the end of the year is right around the corner, and we're going to be kind of closing out. It's interesting because when you Google this idea of closing out the new year, it turns into a business perspective in terms of like closing out finances and closing cases and that kind of thing. And certainly you may be in a position that is something that you need to do. But for our purposes, I want us to look at it from a personal perspective and about 7 things that you can do in order to, over the course of the next month, really dig into how to close out 2023 and be ready for 2024. So the first thing that you can do is you can review the year. You can look at lessons that you've learned. You can look at areas where you believe that you have grown. You can look at bumps in the road and how you managed those, the strengths through which you managed those, different events that happened, and the growth, new relationships, new milestones and achievements. Kind of really gather it. Now you can make this a list. You can write it down. You could maybe go back through your calendar and begin to create this idea of the review of the year, but really it's kind of taking stock at what did 2023 bring me and how did I engage in my life in 2023. And if you haven't already listened to our podcast about values, I would invite you to go back. It's an earlier episode about values and really understanding what our values are. And so when you're doing the review of your year, the second thing that I would encourage you to do is remind yourself of what your values are and look at that review of your year and ponder whether or not the events that you attended, the activities you engaged in, the relationships that you made, do those things align with your values? And if they do, then that's great because you've kind of stayed focused and in line for the year and are probably set for 2024 in terms of staying in line with your values. But if those things do not stay in line with your values, then you might consider how you can engage in the year of 2024 in a different way. So I'll give you an example. If family is one of your values, but you look back on the year and you realize that you missed a lot of family events, or there was a lot of other things that took priority over your family, then maybe it's time to reassess that value and also reassess where you put your time, because having family as a value is very important. But if our actions aren't showing that family is of value, then maybe we want to say it's a value, but it's really not because we're not putting our time in there. So you review your year, you take stock at what the values were, what our values are, and did the things that happened in the year align with our values? And then the third thing is kind of looking at what shifts need to be made. I mentioned this in talking about the idea of values. Where do I need to make shifts? Where do I need to just tweak things a bit? Is it in overscheduling? Is it too much multitasking? Is it not making space for certain things or certain people? So where do the shifts need to be made? Now, if you look at the entire year of 2024, that may feel really daunting. So maybe what you do is you break it down by the month and you say, okay, so in the month of January, maybe you say, these are the people that have birthdays in the month of January or anniversaries. These are the milestone events that are happening in January. These are the sporting or school activity events that are happening in January. Maybe you put all of them on your calendar so that you have a snapshot of what it all looks like, and then you can realize and kind of focus in on what are the things that I must attend, what are the things that I want to attend. Sometimes there's things that we need to attend. We might not want to, but we need to. And what are the things that we can take off the calendar, or maybe we leave them on the calendar, but we kind of disregard them. And you can do that month to month rather than looking at the entire year. But really what you want to do is you want to think about what are my values and where do I need to make the shifts so that 2024 looks like the life that I want to be living. And that brings me to the next point is when you're reviewing this year and you're kind of understanding how this year aligned with your values and what shifts you might want to make for next year, I want you to consider what is the life that you want to live. And I'll give you an example. So let's say you want to be a runner, right? You want to be able to tell the world, I am a runner. You could run and then you could say that you're a runner, but what you might also consider is what are the qualities and the characteristics of a runner. They are certainly putting shoes on, lacing up, and getting out on the road and running. But they're also doing the things that fuel running. So they're eating healthy and fueling their body, they're staying hydrated, they're getting enough sleep, potentially managing their stress, using deep breathing, maybe meditation. They have to probably have good time management skills and organization skills to be able to manage the when am I going to take these runs, or potentially if they're longer runs. So if I say I want to be able to live the life of I am a runner, are the things that I do demonstrating that life? In James Clear's book, The Atomic Habits, which we've referenced before in our podcast, he says, you are what you repeat. So if you say that you want to be, I really want to be healthier, okay, I want to live the life of a healthy person, great. what are the characteristics, the behavior practices, the mindset, the habits of a healthy person? And that's where you dig into those specific things that you're going to put on the calendar and the activities you're engaged in and the habits that you're going to create. You know, that whole idea of you are what you eat. You know, if we eat junk and processed food, we're going to be sluggish and blah. But if we are eating foods that are going to energize us and fuel our bodies, then we're going to be able to live a healthier life. So I'm not saying that your goal has to be around eating, but what I'm saying is not only we are what we eat, but as James Clear says, we are what we repeat in terms of behaviorally. So as you're kind of assessing this year, and this doesn't have to take long, this can just take a few minutes, maybe driving down the road, maybe sitting in the car waiting for your children to like finish practice, or, you know, just take a few minutes to go through these steps. You've already looked at your values and you're considering, did this year align with my values? And I'm going to be pondering the next year and thinking about that. I already mentioned this idea about looking at the month ahead and beginning to set goals. Again, maybe looking at the whole year is too big. So you start monthly. Maybe you look quarterly. Maybe you look seasonally. Some people do their schedules and their habits and routines and such based on seasons, right? So the summer season, the fall school season, maybe the winter holiday season, and then like the spring break or spring sports spring season. So it's not exactly lining up with the quarters of the year, and it's more of a seasonal thing. But anyway, you're going to look at, what are my goals? What are the things I want to accomplish personally, professionally, with my family? What are the activities I want to do? And you don't have to plan the whole year, but you have a snapshot of what this year is going to look like so that you can be sure it is beginning to align with your values. And who's a part of your story? Who was a part of your story in 2023? Are those people still a part of your story? Will they be a part of your story in 2024? Are those people aligning with your values? Are those activities that you're engaging in and the community that you're a part of, is it aligned with your values? And is it aligned with the life that you want to live? Things to consider. And then the very last thing I would invite you to do. So I mentioned 6 things: reviewing your year, assessing your values, considering what shifts you need to make. What do your values and your actions say about you? Are you living the life of the person you want to be? Setting goals and considering who's a part of your story. Those are all kind of a transition, right? You're going to do all 6 of those steps together. But maybe you can consider this last thing as an independent task. I listened to a podcast and have read some content by Gretchen Rubin. She and her sister Elizabeth, whose last name I am now forgetting, they do a podcast on happiness, and one of Gretchen Rubin's things that she does is, for example, 24 for 24. Or this year I made a list, 23 things that I want to do in 2023. So for this year of 2023, Gretchen Rubin suggested 23 minutes of outside time every day. Okay, I didn't really consider that one for myself, but I made a list, right? Piece of paper, 1 through 23, and then I wrote the things that I wanted to accomplish. So things like, one of them was taking our boys on an international trip. One of them was monthly date nights. One of them was monthly girls' nights or lunches out with my girlfriends. One of them was, I got a new planner and I wanted to use it fully and intentionally, right? So I made a list of 23 things I wanted to accomplish, and it's over the course of the whole year. It's not simply, things you're going to do in January. You're going to do them all year, and then you're going to reassess. So I'm actually looking over the course of the next, these last few weeks, I've been looking at my 23 for 23 and considering what my 24 for 24 will be. And it could be something like a weekly yoga practice, or I want to call a friend once a week, or I want to read 24 books. I want to, catch up on photographs and scrapbooking or kind of photo albums, right? Kind of giving you an idea of the 24 things you want to accomplish over the course of the year, and very specific things, right? Like, not I want to scrapbook. I want to finish. Here's a self-disclosure. I want to finish 2020 or 2012. Come on, I'm so far behind. So specific things that you want to do, not general things, but what are specific things that you want to do? Because then you can also then take your list, 24 for 24, and compare it to your calendar, compare it to your values, compare it to your goals, and hopefully they mesh. So this might seem like a big undertaking to review your year, but really it's just a matter of looking at where we've been, how far we've come, and where do we want to go. And in looking at where do we want to go, how are we going to get there? I am gonna share some of my 24 for 24 ideas in an episode in the beginning of the year. And we're also gonna talk about it a little bit more in an upcoming episode about New Year's resolutions. Here's a little hint for you. Don't make New Year's resolutions. We're gonna get to what you can do instead. I want you to consider how you can review your year and be prepared, emotionally, mentally prepared for the next year ahead. When you are reviewing your year and you go to look at your calendar, maybe it's a paper calendar, maybe it's a Google calendar, maybe it's some other kind of calendar. It's late in the year and you probably have your 2024 calendar readily available. If you are a paper calendar girl, which I am, I have my 2024 planner ready, and I've begun to add dates to it and start to use it. I'm not carrying 2 planners quite yet, but in the next couple weeks I probably will be. If you don't have a calendar and you don't use a calendar, I would highly encourage you to get a calendar, whether you're using a digital form or a paper form, a simple calendar, a more extensive planner, but something that you can write things down. You can write down your goals. You can write down the events and activities that you want to accomplish over the course of the year, and be able to then reflect back on those, but also have something tangible that can keep you motivated as you are planning for that new year and then engaging in that new year. I would love to hear your ideas. I would love to hear how you close out your year, how you prepare for the next year, and all of the great ideas that you have. Feel free to send us a DM. You can always email me, Jennifer@hopehealingtherapy.com, and I'm looking forward to hearing your ideas. Have a great day.